Hello, my name is Britt Neuhaus. I'm Vice President of Program and Partnerships with the ASSISTments Foundation. And today we're going to be talking about innovations in tutoring, our approach to 3 key challenges. All right, so just an overview of what I'm going to cover in this presentation. I'm going to start with a little bit of context for our work and who we are, talk a bit about the design of our tutoring program, and then we're really going to dig into how we're approaching some of the key challenges that the field of tutoring is experiencing in terms of areas of learning and growth. And then we'll close out with a little bit of information about our completely free platform that we use to support this tutoring model, in case others want to take advantage. So just to dive in with some context for our work, ASSISTments is a formative assessment platform that is used across the country by math teachers. And we connect directly with high quality curriculum like Illustrative Math and Eureka Math. And through our platform, teachers are able to assign online from these curricular materials. And then students are able to work on those practice problems with immediate feedback and hints. And then teachers get real-time actionable data they can use to plan instruction. So ASSISTments for teachers is a flagship solution that we offer. And it was first developed by former math teachers as well as self-proclaimed research and math nerds. It was created at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, where Dr. Neil Heffernan, one of our co-founders, still works. And then we spun out a separate nonprofit called the ASSISTments Foundation, and that is led by Christina Heffernan, our other co-founder. And the two organizations continue to work in close partnership. So you may be asking a bit about why I'm talking about a teacher tool in a presentation that is about high impact tutoring. So I'm going to explain a little bit of that. So going to ASSISTments, our teacher tool, we are a very well-validated solution. So especially relevant for this audience, we've had 2 IES-funded randomized controlled trials. The first one was in Maine, and then very recently, just last week, we released the results from a second replication study that took place in North Carolina, demonstrating yet again, ASSISTments has a sustained long-term impact. And this is really exciting because as a nonprofit, we really care about evidence and understanding what works. So anything we design, we want to go through an evidence building journey. So we start with the design based in research and learning science, and then there's improvement and iteration. We want to establish emerging evidence that it is working, validate that, and then really replicate that in the most rigorous possible way. So ASSISTments Teacher, the tool I just talked about, is all the way on the right. We have now replicated its results. Our tutoring work is earlier in the journey. So we are exploring how to use ASSISTments, our research-based platform for teachers, and apply what it does best in the context of tutoring. Right now, we're really in that improve and innovate stage of the work. We have received a 5-year federal EIR grant, and this is going to really help us take our tutoring intervention on that evidence building journey. Right now, we are here in school year 23-24, and we're in what we call our second improvement year. So last year, we piloted the model, iterated and improved. This year, we're piloting it again so we can iterate and improve, and then we're going to study it in a more rigorous way the following year. So I just say that to give you context for where we are in our tutoring model and work, which is definitely in the learning and piloting phase. So what is the design of our tutoring model? I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight into that. Overall, our goal is to develop a tutoring program that allows a school district or a school to use existing staff to implement a homegrown tutoring model. And why do we feel like this is really important? We know that there are human capital challenges when it comes to tutoring. It can be difficult to find qualified tutors. And what we're seeing across the country is school districts are really coming up with creative solutions for who a tutor might be. It could be a volunteer from the community. It could be a college student. It could be someone who works already in their school buildings, like a para-educator. So we really want to offer a solution that lets schools and school districts leverage these valuable adults who can bring many assets to the tutoring experience, but may not bring as much math and tutoring background. So that kind of gets into our key design tenets for this model we're developing. And I guess we really see them as areas of innovation for the field, because these are kind of stated goals, but I think tricky areas for many tutoring solutions to figure out. So the first is how to connect tutoring to core instruction. The second is really, what is the best role of technology in tutoring? And the third, going to the human capital piece of this, how do we really empower novice tutors so that they can support the tutoring process? So in this presentation now, I'm going to just give you a little bit of insight into how we're approaching and learning in each of these areas. So the first is connecting tutoring to core instruction. I think for a student, it's really important that what they experience in tutoring feels cohesive with what they're learning in math class. So if they're in math class working on ratios and proportions, and then they go to tutoring and they're working on multiplication tables, there has to be a bit more of like an explicit understanding of how the tutoring connects to that grade level learning. So this is a little bit of how we think about it. If you think about students, they're going to have their main math teacher, and the main math teacher is going to be working on grade level standards. So this is a 5th grade teacher, and he's working on a 5th grade standard, use place value to round decimals. And many students in their class might be prepared for this math. They might be ready to know what 3.61 rounded to the nearest tenth is. But for a variety of reasons, particularly, disruptions in learning during the pandemic, systemic inequities, many reasons, not every student is going to be ready for grade level math. So what do those students need? Partially, they need support with the prerequisite standards that are helpful to understanding this standard. So for example, to use place value around decimals, you have to have an understanding of rounding in general, how to round single digit numbers, how to round multi-digit numbers. You may even need more foundational support with the concept of place value. So that's where tutoring comes in. We really see the role of tutors in our program as working in parallel to the teacher instruction, focusing on those key prerequisite standards. As an example, if a teacher is using Eureka Math Curriculum and they're teaching modules 1 and 2, during that tutoring cycle, the tutor will be really focused on the associated prerequisites. And it's important, that alignment, so that, again, students can feel that relevance to what they're getting in tutoring and how it's helping them in class. We've created what we call our tutor roadmap. And what we do is we use the scope and sequence from a teacher, and we identify, based on that, what are the grade level standards being taught in class. Then we identify the important prerequisite standards associated, and that creates the roadmap for what tutors are going to focus on. So that's a bit about our approach to how we align our tutoring to core instruction. And there's a helpful free resource that we can chat that we use from ANET that is our guide to which prerequisites we prioritize in tutoring. So the second area of innovation for us where we're learning is really what is the best use of technology in the context of in-person tutoring. One of the key things that we've seen be really powerful is using technology, platforms like ASSISTments, to provide real-time data that fuels the tutoring process. So what do I mean by that? To start, we often want to understand what students already know going into a tutoring cycle. And we also want to understand baseline data so we can track student progress and growth. So one of the ways we've been leveraging our platform, ASSISTments, in the tutoring process is to collect diagnostic data on those prerequisite standards that will be taught during the tutoring cycle. That way, tutors come in with a knowledge in advance of where students are in their understanding. Then as tutors tutor on the standards, they're able to monitor progress through a check for understanding that's also administered in the ASSISTments platform. So that provides tutors data that they can use to understand, should we move forward to the next standard or should we stay put? It also allows them to track growth. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like in the ASSISTments platform to give you a better sense. So within the ASSISTments platform, there is a large live content that you can explore and assign by standard or by curriculum. So we use this platform to support those diagnose and monitor steps of our tutoring model. So just to show you what this looks like, here's an example of a diagnostic. And in the diagnostic, there's going to be problems associated with all of the standards that are going focused on in the upcoming tutoring cycle. So the student's able to go in and give their best effort and answer the questions. We also have checks for understanding. These align to a specific standard, as you can see in the title, and this will allow the tutor, after tutoring on a standard, to just get that quick data on whether the student got it or whether they need more support. When students complete those assignments, it will generate a data report that the teacher, or in this case, the tutor can use, and this will help them understand if students are progressing and also which students need more support. So if, for example, I gave a check for understanding and I'm looking at this data, I can see that of the 3 students in my tutoring group, student R needs a bit more support on this particular standard, and I can view the problems that were in the assessment and use that to go over that with the student. So going back to the presentation, I think in summary, one of the ways we've seen technology be really powerful in our tutoring model is providing that real-time data so that tutors are going into tutoring sessions with a sense of what students already know, and they're able to adjust tutor along the way to make sure they're meeting student needs. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk a bit about is how within our tutoring model, we are supporting novice tutors. And we define novice as a tutor who may not bring a lot of teaching or tutoring, but also may not bring a lot of math background or math knowledge. So maybe they're more like me and they really haven't taken a since high school or something, and they might be a little rusty. So we do quite a few different things to support our novice tutors, and I'm just going to highlight a couple. One, of course, is training, and this is very evidence-based, right? Tutors need upfront training, they need ongoing support. So we've developed self-paced learning modules that they can complete, and then interspersed into that are live training, and those are really helping the learning and information from the modules and apply it and practice it in collaboration with other tutors. Also really crucial is this bi-weekly coaching that customized to what tutors are needing in that moment. So it could be sort of a student engagement challenge. It could be related to how to really unpack a math concept. So that's like that real-time support that really helps tutors continue to grow. And then we also do provide curated resources. We know when a tutor's not sure about the math, the first thing they do is probably Google. And so we've done some of that in advance and worked with expert tutors to curate a set of resources that they can go to if they need a little bit of support or reminder. The other big shift that we are testing in our model to better support novice tutors is a bit more of a student-directed approach to learning in a tutoring group. So not always, but typically, tutoring programs can provide tutors with lesson plans, and they use those lesson plans to deliver the tutoring lesson. In our model, we're leveraging our platform ASSISTments to allow students to work through online practice, and the tutor is a bit more of a guide on the side. The tutor does support and model for students, so there is direct instruction, but students also can take more of an effort to build their own efficacy in doing these problems, because in assessments, problems have hints. So I'm going to go ahead and explain that a little more, and then I'll just show you what it looks like. So going back to our tutoring model, there is, of course, diagnose, then the tutors are planning, delivering sessions aligned to the standards in their roadmap, and then administering the check for understanding. So during that plan deliver, that's where tutors and students are really leveraging these practice problem sets that we've built in assessments, and they're able to use those to support students through their learning. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. All right, so here's an example of a practice problem set. This is focused on the specific standard here. And as a tutor, before I go to tutor my students, I am going to preview these problems. As I look at these problems, I'm able to click Get Help and request a hint. Each one of our problems has an embedded hint, and then additional hints that build on that initial hint. And the key with these hints is they help you get closer to the answer. They give you another piece of the puzzle without giving away the answer. So we have our tutors actually go through these practice problems and view the hints themselves, so they really understand what it is students are going to be asked to do. And then during the tutoring session, they're going to go through this practice problem set with students in a gradual release model. So the first couple problems, the tutor is going to model and think aloud how they would approach it. Then maybe on the third, they'll do it collaboratively with students, and students will share strategies. And then they might say, go ahead, students, and try these on your own. And again, because everything in assessments gets recorded, the tutor can reference the data in real time and kind of see how students are doing and jump in and help them as they go. So this is something that we think will really support student ownership, and also for a tutor who may not be as prepared to deliver on all the math instruction, it's sort of leveraging technology to support that as well. So the last piece of that puzzle are these self-directed learning strategies. So during this collaborative time when tutors are supporting students as they work through the math, we want to encourage these kinds of strategies so students really take ownership over their learning. Things like embracing mistakes as opportunities to learn, really thinking about how to utilize those hints to build your understanding, and cultivating that growth mindset that with effort I can improve. So if I don't get the first couple right, but I get the next one right, that's awesome. That's part of math. That's the process of learning. That's why that mistakes as part of learning is so, so crucial. So in terms of some resources we'll share, we have just the gradual release model that we use, as well as the self-directed strategies, which we're still developing and refining. So this is all exciting learning for us as we continue in our improvement year. All right, so hopefully today you got a good sense of how we're approaching some of these key challenges and really opportunities for tutoring right now, which is making sure tutoring connects to core instruction, leverages technology effectively, and really supports novice tutors. And we hope those strategies are things you can take away and apply in your own context. In addition, we just wanted to make sure that you knew ASSISTments is free. So it is forever free for a teacher or a tutor who wants to leverage the resources we provide in any context. And so please do feel free to check it out. We most simply integrate with Google Classroom and Canvas, and we have a library of content. Like I said, open education resources like illustrative math. We have in-house built content as well. As a teacher or tutor, you can search by standard. So if you wanted to, for example, diagnose student understanding of a standard, or do that quick check for understanding, or again, provide students an opportunity to practice with hints, that's all available. And yeah, hope it's a helpful resource. So something else we can share after as well in the chat are links to our free user resources and getting started tutorials. And then myself and our director of tutoring, Denise Barrett, are very available for any questions that are coming up. So yes, here is our contact information. Thank you very, very much. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Super appreciate the appreciation. And please do ask us questions. We're happy to share anything else about ASSISTments, how the program works. I know, Denise, one thing we didn't get into as much is like what our tutor support really looks like. And so I don't know if you want to spend a couple minutes just sharing a bit more about kind of like our approach to tutor support and what we've learned works best for tutors who are especially newer to tutoring and to math.
Yes, thank you, Britt. So I believe we definitely specialize in novice tutors, as Britt mentioned in her presentation. First and foremost, as Britt mentioned so eloquently, professional development is critical. And we are happy to say that we have a very robust tutor training program, both synchronous and asynchronous, with our modules, our webinars, but most importantly, what's come up over and over again through our research and our feedback is our one-on-one support, our check-ins, our continuous support that we have through our tutor engagement manager. We constantly provide that support to tutors and check in with them and customize what it is that they need based on the feedback we get to them as they support the students in their tutoring sessions. So we find, working with novice tutors, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And we use the feedback that we receive in our surveys and our focus groups and our interviews with them to truly gauge what we provide in the modules and what we provide in the webinars to really customize those professional development experiences. And that's what we have found to be very effective in working with novice tutors.
I think another question that sometimes people come up is related to who we're working with and what is their approach to leveraging novice tutors, like how are they working on this human capital challenge. And I think so one of our partners, Baltimore City Public Schools, they're actually working with para-professionals or para-educators who might typically be employed in a different fashion, but they are specifically being hired to tutor. And so that's been really, really powerful to kind of bring in someone from the community who might not have the typical background of like a former math teacher or someone with math experience, but has a lot of, assets to bring, and they build amazing relationships with our kids. And so that's been really powerful. And I think, it's interesting in that building the pool of candidates when you're thinking outside the box isn't as challenging, but I think some of the challenges come down to actually getting people hired and going through the process of hiring. So there's been a lot of interesting lesson learned there if anyone's interested in more on that. But otherwise, I'm really glad to hear in the chat that the free resources have been useful. I chatted the link. So our tutoring work is in fact part of this grant. So it's not something we're actively, like that full package of support and materials that we provide in our platform. That is more through partnership work. So if you are interested in learning more or getting support, you can always reach out to us. But otherwise, like I said, ASSISTments just is a free, amazing repository of 200,000 math problems. And there are, many ways it can be leveraged to support tutoring. So hopefully, some of the strategies we shared today are valuable. I'm seeing one question, which is, has this been used in a summer learning environment? And the answer is not to date. So the current model and approach that we're using, I think one of the key things that's working well is that it is actually part of the school day. So these tutoring sessions are happening kind of when kids are already in the building, so that can support attendance and buy-in. However, there's nothing that would make it not work in a summer environment. I think it would just be a different set of considerations as far as how you build that buy-in, when it might happen. I think the other thing that would be interesting to think about is that aspect of core instruction and curricular alignment. So in the case of during the school year, we will think about the teacher's scope and sequence and really use that to guide a tutor through a set of standards that will support that. So I think in a summer school context, I could imagine identifying a more targeted set of standards. I know one program we've supported in the past has been related to algebra readiness and really honing in on a few key standards for that. And so in that case, you absolutely could, for example, curate some problem sets by standard and use that to support the learning in a summer school context. I don't know, Denise, if there's anything you would add to that. The short answer is no.
But I do believe our program is customizable, and there is certainly a lot of room for scalability.
And we are so appreciative of people's time and joining to learn.
Yes, we thank you so much for your time.